welcome Jessica to In Her Bag. Very excited to have you here with us. So you are with Shopify. Tell us a little bit more about your role there, um, and essentially just like a little bit about your work in marketing.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Jessica. I run the brand marketing team here at Shopify. So we are tasked to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs to choose entrepreneurship and choose Shopify. So we do that through various different activities, partnerships, campaigns, social. We have lots of awards that we give out to merchants for different thresholds that they hit. We do a lot of events and experiential, but all in the vein of driving awareness for Shopify, but really sort of making entrepreneurship more attractive.
Yeah. I've done like a ton of work with Shopify, and in terms of anybody who has an e-commerce business, that is number one, like the only platform that you should ever possibly be on when it comes to online retail. But your career has spanned some incredible roles from leading global brand marketing at Visa to your current position at Shopify. So tell me a little bit about how these experiences have shaped your perspective on modern marketing.
Definitely. I mean, Visa is such a global powerhouse. I definitely like got my chops working at Visa, but I think my last two roles at Coinbase and then here working for smaller companies, founder-led, have really sort of taught me what I think is more the anchor on modern marketing. Visa is amazing, but really it is it's a product company that happens, it's a marketing company that happens to have a great product. I mean, everything is marketing at that company, and it's very like brand marketing. There's not a lot of like direct measurement that you can have from the work that you do at Visa. So it is big sponsorships and, sort of big campaigns, which was so amazing and such a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But working on the leading the brand marketing team at Coinbase and then coming here, it is much more layered in performance plus brand marketing and really making those two work really hard together, i.e., really great sort of upper funnel core creative work that then can be used to push people lower down in the funnel and convert. And working for engineers like Brian and Toby, they really care about that measurement piece and that conversion piece. And so it's been really great the last two roles to really find that harmony between what I am trained in and have been tasked with, which is the brand marketing side, the super upper funnel part, but really working closely with our performance teams to make sure that what we do on the creative side can still be really useful in actually converting when they're working in the much lower funnel tactics.
Yeah, and something I actually would love for you to expand on. So you said that, like Visa's a little bit more of like a marketing company that just happens to have a great product. I love that. Now, for anyone who might just be like, what does that even mean? Can you please expand on that? But also the difference between a company that's like, like a marketing company that happens to have a product and a company that is marketing a product.
Yeah. I mean, for most markets, and this may not be true in, some international markets, everyone knows what Visa is. There's 100% awareness of the company, and it's not a product that you choose. You're not in an active decision that I am going to choose Visa. It is sort of a decision that is made for you, by your bank. You get a Visa card issued to you based on what bank you are banking with, or whatever. And you have to have a credit or a debit card. You really cannot exist in this world without one. I mean, if you don't, you probably can still make it work, but for the most part, you have to have it. And so, really, Visa is not trying to get you to use the product, and there's not really a product marketing strategy because there's really only one product for 99% of the population. It is the card, either in your phone or in your wallet. And so, really, what they are tasked with is making the brand Visa an emotional connection to you so that, if you have a choice, you're making that choice, that, you're keeping that one at the top of wallet. You think Visa cares about you. You think Visa is the coolest. You think because my favorite athlete is in a Visa commercial. So everything is about like those emotional connections to Visa, and how close they are culturally to who you are versus, oh, I'm going to make an active decision and I need proof points on why I should choose this product. That's why they partner with the Olympics and have for 20 plus, it's probably like 50 plus years. I don't know how long they've been. Same thing with the NFL, same thing now with Formula One, same thing with, now they're getting into music and gaming. It is because the cultural connection is so much more important than actually being better than the competition, because really their only competition is cash at this point.
Yeah. And even with that, I think it's definitely something of note to recognize that you've kind of worked for two companies then, like between like Visa and Shopify, where it kind of seems like there's not even really an option if there really is one in terms of who you're going to select to move forward with in terms of whether that be your card provider or the retail platform that you sell with. But both companies still invest heavily into marketing. And so can you just give me a little bit of insight in terms of like, even when there's like not much competition in that space, the value of still putting money behind your name and sharing your brand story?
Yeah. I think for Shopify, it's much more about, and this was the same thing at Coinbase. And so you're sort of you're speaking to two audiences. One is the merchant audience, those who already know about your platform and you are sort of comparing um product features to, I mean, we definitely have competition, especially for early stage entrepreneurs. Squarespace, you could throw up a website. If you're deciding how you actually want to sell your goods, you could go to a marketplace like Etsy or eBay or Amazon, or you could decide not to sell on rented land and build your own store. You're right, like in the realm of really good commerce platforms, we stand alone, but for early stage entrepreneurs, they might not know that. And so we are sort of convincing them on the product side why they should choose Shopify over these others. And we have plenty of amazing product marketers and sales teams that have enough case studies, that should be convincing for anyone. And we use those in a lot of our performance marketing and just storytelling. But then I think the bigger thing that we do with marketing, which is also what we did at Coinbase, which is you have to sell the category. You have to build the category of business ownership, of entrepreneurship. When it was at Coinbase, of crypto, you have to educate people that this is a choice that you could make, whether you're coming straight out of college or you just got laid off from your job or you retired and maybe you now want to take that side hustle that you've been doing for 30 years into a real business. Like, we are selling the category of entrepreneurship, and that is what I think is the most fun marketing challenge is you really are making entrepreneurship attractive and attainable for people who may not think that that is who they are. And so for me, that's a super fun challenge because, similar to, anything else where you're sort of like reflecting people in the marketing, it's fun to really think about all of the different audiences, niche communities, who have built businesses on Shopify, and really tell those stories, and help people to see themselves within the millions of business owners that we have on Shopify.
Yeah. And even with that, I mean, it's an e-commerce platform, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a lot of the brand messaging, there's, the Shopify space down in New York, and
Yeah.
on the like the wall, like really big, it says, like New York is for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And of anything that you guys could put on the wall, you have nothing about sales, nothing about
Right.
e-commerce, nothing about product. It's about entrepreneurs and recognizing that this is a city where many of them are built and made. And so it's not even so much of a that you push the messaging for e-commerce, is that you push the experience of entrepreneurship. So can you tell us a little bit more about not just marketing the product, but marketing the experience?
Yeah. I think that was why I originally took this job was, brand marketing for yourself is it's so fun. And obviously, like, we do a ton of Shopify brand marketing, i.e., telling the story of Shopify, and it's a great story with Toby and Harley at the helm. But what I think is most special about Shopify is that we are a platform that enables so many others to succeed and have been there like partner in crime since day one. That's how we like to think of ourselves is, from the first time where you're just selling a t-shirt with a logo to, a multi-million dollar business, which so many of our merchants have done. I mean, Gymshark was an original like build a business winner when we had that program back in the day, and now it's the most successful um, you know, athleisure company, workout gear. I mean, well over $1 billion brand. And so really it's about telling those stories, telling merchant stories. Like no one wants to hear from Shopify. Telling our own stories are not that interesting, but let us show you all of the millions of successful entrepreneurs in so many different categories and things that you love. And that's what I think is, again, like how we really can be authentic to ourselves is that what we are doing is just enabling others to succeed and doing that through partnerships. A big part of my team is all about partnerships, celebrity partnerships, and creator partnerships, and partnerships with fast growing hype brands, and partnerships with the biggest brands, in the world that are selling on Shopify. And all of these stories in the middle about how these businesses were built, the grit and the glory of entrepreneurship on Shopify.
Yeah. And, you know, I think even what you've touched on there is just really, you're really tapped into your why.
Yes.
Now, for anyone who is like a small business owner, or they're just getting started, or maybe they're just putting together their marketing strategy, what would you recommend in terms of them really nailing that down and figuring out their why, trying to get away from just, like I sell this great product, but making it bigger than that?
Yeah, I think it's tough with small businesses because I think depending on what you're selling, there's a number of different strategies that can be best. And sometimes brand marketing is not the right first step. Certainly, like highly recommend, using Instagram ads to at least, get some awareness in that bottom of funnel. But I think really that the brand storytelling piece is about building that emotional connection and that long-term affinity. People want to know why they should purchase from you. And if it's simply because, they got a great Instagram ad and it was right what they were looking for, why should they purchase again? Why should they care? Why should they store their information with you or continue to subscribe to your emails or your text messages? Like, I really think there has to be something more than just we have a 30% off sale going on, because obviously that's just a race to the bottom and builds no connection with a consumer. And it's not really just all about like features or sales. It's how does the brand fit into a customer's life and aspirations? I think with so many brands out there now, and our loyalty is not the way it used to be. That, if you're thinking about the person who built the brand that you're buying from, if you know their story or that this came from, um, a dearth they saw in the market and they built this brand really for these people. I think Shay Mitchell is the greatest example of this is, yes, she's a famous actress, but she, was carrying her baby stuff all around and she was throwing her stuff in a bag and there was like no place that she could put her shoes where it wasn't next to her clothes or her baby stuff. And so she built this amazing bag where nobody has ever done it before. There's a zipper at the bottom where you can put your shoes. And like every woman in the history of the world, I feel like was like, finally, I can put my shoes in a separate place where they're not touching all of my other stuff. And now she's got $1 billion, the most successful luggage brand of all time, Base, which is on Shopify. But you know those stories and you're like, I want to buy from Shay. That she built it for me. So I really think telling those stories and building those connections and having the founder tell those stories really helps to let a consumer know why they should care. I mean, this is clearly one that Shopify really cares about, which is owning the direct customer relationship. We've heard so many times that people regret only building an Amazon storefront. Not to say that building on Amazon isn't a good strategy because the customers are already there. But what they find later is that, when they build their storefront, they have to rebuild their audiences because they don't own that relationship. They haven't ever communicated directly. They, have a tough time like rebuilding that. And so what we've heard from many folks is that they wished from day one that they had built a Shopify storefront where they could own their audiences in addition to, other places that would help them with distribution. And I think really, you like taking care of that relationship that you've built with the customer. That means, good customer service, not, over marketing to them through SMS or email, loyalty programs, really making sure that that relationship is strong. And then, I think there's, as you grow, like a balance between performance marketing and brand building. You want to make sure that it's not just all bottom of funnel, convert by sale, but, has a separate, you know, piece where you're also building the brand.
Yeah. And that in itself is just a very robust strategy to build out. Very, big vision, very long form. You're definitely playing the long game with that one.
For sure.
So, what would you say are some of the key elements in developing a successful, efficient, and effective marketing strategy?
I think really the piece about building direct relationships, honestly, like prioritizing that first party data, getting a good email cadence immediately, like whatever mail platform you choose to use, which all of them plug into Shopify. Same thing with SMS. I think SMS is an immediate great strategy to build a connection with a consumer, and making sure that they do know about what's coming up really helps to immediately, and super easy. There's plenty of tools that are out there to maintain that strong customer connection, especially as we understand the social platforms are changing. We don't know what's going to be here tomorrow. You really want to make sure you own those relationships. I think thinking about a content strategy, not everybody has a video editor or, a big content budget. Honestly, I think so many people have been successful with just face to camera, founder led creative strategies where you're showing what you're doing, you're packing orders, you're, telling the story of why you built this business, just that authentic and engaging storytelling. I think short form video is super easy to just test and iterate, especially with all the new tools that are out on Instagram and TikTok. And if you don't want to be the face of the brand, or you haven't built that audience up, like what are the collaborations with creators, micro creators? There is such a long tail of amazing creators out there who have a highly engaged audience that would love to hear from them about your business. And so I think really figuring out like what's that micro creator influencer strategy. And then honestly, I know it's very cliche, but just like experimenting, staying agile. I think AI has brought in such an easy way to test and adapt and iterate quickly. It's brought in such an easy way to make your creative 10x better. So rather than sort of like waiting and figuring out the perfect strategy, really just using all of these amazing tools at your fingertips, many of them built into Shopify, so that you can, really test and iterate and figure out what works best for your brand.
Is there any store that's like currently on Shopify whose launch or like just their marketing strategy or like the way they went to market just has floored you, that they're just like your favorite example of like somebody who did it extremely right?
That is a good question. And had I been prepared, I could have thought of a lot.
I know, not to put you on the
No, no,
spot.
no, it's okay. I can definitely whip up a few. Don't worry. There's a few who I think, and they didn't start super recently, but I think have really leaned into some strategies that have worked specifically for them. We have a beauty brand on Shopify called BKK Beauty, and they have actually absolutely crushed TikTok Shop. Decided to live stream one day a sale that they were doing on makeup brushes, and ended up doing like, a 24-hour live stream, and I think crushed like 10 million in sales during that time. And it was honestly something they'd never done before. They were just trying it out and found that the sales were so high and that they were really resonating with, audiences. And so now it's a strategy they use all the time, and one that they brought over to other platforms should TikTok Shop go away. But I think just having the confidence and, the, to just try new things. And what an amazing, obviously, revenue driving strategy now for them, that they know that this works. And it's really just their founder doing it, or maybe one of their sales folks or marketing folks that's just on camera doing it. So it's not even like they hired a host. I think another person that I love, her name is, I'm gonna forget her last name, Georgia, but she goes by Strawberry Milk Mob on TikTok. She, literally just started making videos as a content creator, but has a multi-million dollar swimsuit brand that her and her sister run. And I think just again, like starting content creation as a way to sell more stuff. Now, she's an amazing content creator and she doesn't actually, 100% sell her bathing suits in there, but she's using her content as a way to distribute, and a way to get more marketing out. And just her content is amazing. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. She's so good. But I think those are just, you know, just one of the strategies that you can use. I think there's a million others where they're just really testing and iterating with, social ads, with SMS messages, things that are funny, things that are kitschy, leaning into stuff that's happening in the world. Again, I wish I could think of 10 others that I'm sure because I love all the business on Shopify, but those are the ones that stick out to me recently.
And I'm sure we can all like take to Google and find, significantly more because there's, so many brands
So many.
on the platform. But even with what you had mentioned about, like the TikTok ban potentially coming in, and I've seen so many different takes on people pivoting their content strategies and whatnot. And even just mentioning, going live for 24 hours and being able to like $10 million. I think this just really goes to show that like a marketing strategy doesn't have to be just so solid and rigid. Like it does need to have some room for flexibility. Have you worked with any brands who like they just had like an airtight, marketing strategy? They never detoured from it, and that just happened to work out, or anyone who, they were incredibly flexible. Maybe they just didn't have one, and it kind of just got made along the way, and kind of like how that would have worked out for either one.
I mean, I'm probably gonna regret saying this, but I think a lot of the, like traditional brands are the ones who sort of like stick to a strategy and aren't willing to experiment. And I think that hinders them. Gen Z has got, the future potential, buying potential, and they want a brand that is reflective of them and a brand that I think is like willing to take risks and willing to try new things. And again, there's so much new technology that I feel like if you're not utilizing it, it is really a miss. Now, of course, there are plenty of brands who don't need to just because they crush all the time. But I think Elf is which is not on Shopify, but I love this brand, so I will talk about it. Um, like they don't need to do all the stuff that they do. They are crushing revenue. They've got a highly engaged audience that is in their app every day. They figured out ways to really reach everyone and they're growing internationally. But yet they still experiment with fun partnerships. I mean, the Elf and Liquid Death, content was some of the best I've ever seen. They still are taking on, new sponsorships. They, I think, were the first beauty brand to show up at NASCAR, really speaking to a female audience, which is half of the NASCAR audience, but no one ever really did that. They did that Dicks in the Boardroom campaign. I'm not sure if you saw this, where there's more dicks on boards, like literally people named Richard, than there are women. And I mean, it's just like they don't have to do this, but yet they know that if they don't, there could be the next beauty brand that comes in, and kicks them out. And so, really, just again, I know they're a huge brand, and so this may not speak to small audiences, but I think their appetite for risk and trial and error is really something to be just held up on a pedestal. I think that they really embody the kind of marketing that people want to see. It's risky, it's fun, it reflects who they are, it reflects who I am, and makes me want to buy Elf products, truly.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing is that adaptability, that constant innovation. And I think it again just goes to show like even what we were saying about Visa is that even though these brands have been around for a hot minute, they continue to innovate, they continue to make that investment. And you really can't get to a point of like stagnancy or comfortability because again, like somebody can come at any time and take over your customer base if you stop relating to them at a certain point.
Right.
Um,
I think honestly, a lot of it is just like it doesn't need to be perfect. I think too many brands sort of are in the back house trying to perfect things. And I think we're in a world where like lo-fi and, you know, like fast better than perfect is really the way it is right now. People don't need to be 100% polished. Brands don't need to be 100% polished. Like they evolve over time. I would say like just getting out there is the best thing to do. And then refining, what you see works and doesn't work over time, both for big brands and small, is absolutely the best strategy.
Yeah, and I think like I've seen two phenomenal examples of that recently. One being Duolingo.
Oh yeah,
When TikTok was about to go down and everybody was getting on like what Red
red note.
Note,
Yeah.
and they did a post saying, "Oh, now you're trying to learn Mandarin." And their head of marketing, she did like this amazing post on LinkedIn talking about how all the departments got together. They got no executive approval, and they just put this out.
Yep.
And sometimes that's as fast as you need to be. You can't worry about the details or the bits of perfection in it. And so, I'll go back to like my prep questions.
Of course.
I
No,
don't derail too much because I
you're
definitely
fine.
want to.
I love a good conversation. You can derail as much as you want.
I know, perfect. But you've worked with globally recognized brands and innovative platforms. So, how do you approach aligning brand values with impactful marketing campaigns?
That is a great question. I think working at a founder-led company, it's a lot easier because the um, you know, you know exactly what's important to the company, and really what's important to Toby is what's important to the company. And so, we really lean on that. For Shopify, the only thing that matters is that we are helping entrepreneurs to grow their businesses. And we don't stray from that. And that is what our brand team focuses on. It's what our performance team focuses on. It's what our comms teams focus on. And so I think really having that core ethos that is important to everyone in the company is the most wonderful thing about working for a company like Shopify. At Coinbase, it was, wanting to break the old financial systems and like building a better financial future. And then everyone is reaching towards that goal. Your products are all thinking about how we can do this thing together. And then your marketing all rallies around that. And so, again, even for the smallest of brands, I think having that like brand ethos, that brand theme, that value that is most important, will really help as you grow, just so that you can always sort of put that filter on it of, is this laddering up to that? Now, again, small brands, like it may be totally product focused, you're just trying to sell, that's fine. But I think as a business thinking about how do we build from that? How do we know how to hire people? It's all leading back to that. What's the brand ethos, and does this person understand that? And can they do the job to explain that? For a company like Visa, I think it's a little bit harder because you really are for everyone. Same thing with Shopify. And so, you really have to take like a very platform specific stance, which is we are for everyone. And that can be tough. But it really is like it's technology versus, you know, pro products or anything else. And so we really want the technology to work for everyone. And that's what's most important.
Yeah, I think you guys have also done incredibly well, which I think can often be a miss, especially post pandemic, is how people want in person and IRL experiences. And
Yeah.
even though you're a platform, you've still done that incredibly well. You've had, like in-person spaces, you have events, you get your team out to, events and things that they can, speak about the company, engage with people in person. Um, how like I would love your perspective in terms of getting an online business offline and how that can just really make a little bit more of an impact.
Yeah, I think this is something that's been super fun, that we've done quite a bit of over the last 2 years, which is allow our traditionally D2C businesses to show up in our Soho store, and feel what it's like to have an in real life experience with their fans, and their customers. Um, it's tough to build a deep relationship with a customer if they've never seen your brand or touched it other than what gets shipped to their house. And so I think allowing your brand to show up in the real world, and whether that's a mobile truck, a small activation, you're buying a car at the Grove, whatever it is, like I think really allowing fans to come and see that. And so it's been really fun. At the Soho store, we've had a ton of brands that have never had an in real life pop-up come through. And that is, brands like the Woobles, the Colt, brand, uh, knitting brand, which,
This one.
oh yeah, you like knit characters. So like,
It's
it's like a
so
knit.
fun.
Yeah, definitely look it up after this. It's like a package that comes and you can knit a Pokemon or a Hello Kitty or whatever it is. But we had great expectations for this brand. We know how successful it is, but we had people lined up around the block to come, and it's not like it's a founder-led brand where they were coming to meet the founder. They were coming to see their favorite brand in person, buy as much as they could, experience the community. They wanted to meet other Woobles fans. And it was such a fun experience to just see that a brand like that, which doesn't really have a face as a founder, could bring out such a tight-knit community of knitting enthusiasts. It was so fun. We've had a million stories like this. Even just this weekend, we had favorite daughter and athletic greens in the shop. Same thing, like packed house all day, every day, because you don't really see athletic greens that much anywhere. And favorite daughter is a fairly new, but like, very loved brand. And I
Yeah.
think having them together in the same space was so fun for folks. Eastside Golf is another brand. We did a
Oh, I
pop-up
saw
in
that one.
our Soho store ahead of their golf invitational, and they've never had a full pop-up. They've shown up like in a PGA store before, but this was Earl and Olajuwon, the amazing founders, getting to be in the store the whole time, meet all of the fans who have bought their brand since day one, having people to come out and feel the product. It's really hard to buy a $200 jacket online if you don't know. And so having people be able to come out, feel the product, see the quality. And then we had a fun experiential element in there where you could, you got to putt with Earl, you got to, try to win something. We had a bunch of giveaways with some other like super hype brands. We had a couple of alcohol brands come in. And it was just like people felt so much closer to the brand. Like I can guarantee those people will be Eastside Golf customers for life because it was such an amazing experience. And so it gave them the confidence. Actually, they're opening up their own store now. And so I think that's such a powerful piece is that it's scary to open a store, but if you can see how important it is for customers, we've had a couple of other brands where now they do regular pop-ups because they know that people want to see them, they want to meet them, they can build an experiential element. So I think it's just all about authenticity. And again, like people want to know, they want to care about the brands that they're buying from, and being able to meet the founders, meet others in the community, meet other fans of the brand. It's such a fun experience, and it provides a really different layer of commerce than just buying something online.
Yeah. And to be able to build that type of not just like fan, but like a real community, because the person doesn't necessarily just love the product or
Right.
like the brand itself, that they really love the entire experience.
Yeah.
If, and again, I'm putting you on the spot, but if you were to say that there is like a percentage of people who have just done that incredibly well, what percentage would you say that that is of people who are able to just like really create a brand experience and community?
Um, I think honestly, like there's more now. I think there is way more now. And I think that's because, again, you've got these big companies who are trying to be for everyone, which is important in some cases. And like I said, we're a technology platform, so that's important for us. But now you've got these companies where their audience is super niche. And it's like the thousand true fans mentality where you are building for these, maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's, 100,000, but just for these people. And so you can be so particular about how you're building your company, how you're building your brand, the products you're going to offer, the price point, how you show up in real life, where you show up in real life. And I think if you know your brand and your community, people have gotten really, really good at it. They show up, in the best places where they're going to resonate with that community. They know, how to show up. They know exactly who should be invited. And, again, we've seen this so much through the D2C brands that we invite into their store. They've gotten so good at community building that I I feel like most of the brands that we have in, like there's lines around the block because they have gotten so good at building this community online. Now people are just craving to meet them in real life. So I do think people have gotten a lot better, and I think that has a lot to do with all of the spaces online where you can build community, whether it's in your own Discord or, through however you build the community online, or whether it's on Reddit or, your TikTok community where people are in the comments. So I really do think it's overwhelming sometimes how many channels I feel like you have to be on, but I also feel like it really allows you to like get deep, deep insights about who you're talking to and who your customers are.
Yeah, no, it's the ability to start a business, run a business, to build a hugely successful brand is definitely not what it used to be like
Definitely
20
not.
years ago. Not even like 5, 10 years ago.
Totally
Um,
agree.
and even the number of like celebrity brands. Um,
My favorite topic.
like
It's true.
crazy that like even in Sephora, like I think Fenty was like one of
Yep.
like the
For a
first
long time.
real celebrity
Yeah.
brands, and that was only in like what, like 2014, 15?
Yeah, Rihanna, you're right. Rihanna was was the one to do it first.
Like
Um,
that's crazy.
Totally.
And
And now
then
there's so many. I mean, we of course, not of course, but tons of celebrities that launch brands on Shopify. And Harley, our president, is like a celebrity in and of himself. So he definitely knows a lot of them. Like, we celebrate their success. I think it is so interesting and really relatable in some ways. We find we do a lot of celebrity partnerships because it is it's really interesting to see an actress or a musician who is so successful on that side, but then, they're very relatable when they come over to build a business and find that it is very hard.
it's
And
humbling.
yeah. And so I think it is such a relatable thing, and we love to share these stories
Mhm.
because some of them are so good. I mean, we recently did a partnership with Nicki Minaj where Nicki is the biggest, superstar in the world. But her brand story is so cool that, she had a baby and she did not have time to sit for 5 hours and get her nails done. And so her and her nail tech built a press-on nail brand so she could have the same amazing nails that she has for her whole career, but she can press them on in 20 minutes and go and be with her baby and go about her day. Like, what a relatable story for any woman who has kids. And now I'm like, I will always buy Nicki Minaj's press-on nails because they're beautiful and they're amazing quality and it's just a genius idea. And so again, I think it's like such a relatable thing to have your favorite, even Beyonce when she came out with Sacred. I think a lot of people were sort of like, oh, you wear a wig and you didn't really make this product. And she has done tons of videos where she's like, no, I was in the back room, like using these products. This is my natural hair. Like, y'all can see it. Watch this. And so I think it brings them out of that like untouchable superstar space and really brings them down to earth on like these are the things that they care about. And they built these businesses to really, offer customers something that, they truly care about and want you to have.
Yeah. And I think that oftentimes people assume that celebrity brands are going to be extremely successful because they have influence, they have
Amen.
money.
Amen.
But even with that, and you don't name anybody, but is there any brand that did something that was just like to their detriment that you were just like, oh no no no, like a business, this will be like my thing that I always share so that businesses just never do this.
Well, I think it really goes back to you have to care about this thing because you're going to be promoting it all the time. And if you don't care, that is going to come through loud and clear. And so I won't name names, but there have been plenty of celebrity businesses that have failed miserably. And I think of a lot of it is because they were pitched by a VC firm. Hey, this is going to be super successful. You're a big celebrity. You have so many followers, like, whatever. But it was not something that they cared about. They weren't in the back room building the product together. And so then when it came to promoting it, um, they couldn't connect. They didn't want to post about it. It felt inauthentic. Their fans immediately knew. And, I think that's a real issue, not just for celebrities. I think creators have also fallen into this trap where, you know, they're getting pitched to help distribute this product, but for most creators and celebrities, like your fans have grown up with you. They know who you are and they will see right through it. If this is not a product that you've ever talked about before or ever cared about before, and suddenly you're shilling to them, they want to know that this is something you care about and not just something you're trying to make money on.
Yeah. And even on like that topic of just having to talk about your product and your business every single day. I think some
Yeah.
people think that it's going to get exhausting for their audience, but Miss Kimberly Kardashian, I see her talking about Skims every
Yeah.
single day. Shay
Yeah.
Mitchell, I see her every time she's traveling or just going out for the day. Base is showing up on her
Okay.
feed. So,
Onda is the drink. Like
yes,
she's for real. Yeah.
yes.
Um, yeah, Shay is honestly, I think one of the most brilliant business women out there. I mean, Kim, obviously, but yeah, same thing. I mean, I don't think her skincare brand, was immediately successful the way Skims was. But she continues to, like build a good product, use it, talk about it, use it, talk about it. It wins awards. So yeah, I mean, it is not a sure thing, even with someone like Kim, who I feel like could sell you anything, but it really has to resonate. And it has to be good. I mean, I love Skims. It's my favorite. Base is such a good product. Yeah, it's got to be a good product. I mean,
And
Rare
that's
Beauty is another one. Like Selena was one of the early ones besides Rihanna. And, Rare continues to crush because it is good products. Same thing with Rhode. Like, for the most part, yes, Haley talks about it, but she's not the face of Rhode, and she never wanted to be. And so, Rhode crushes even without Haley. I mean, um they did a pop-up right next to our Soho store, and I mean, they had to cut people off like 7 hours before the pop-up closed because the line was so long, and there was like Haley wasn't going to be there. It was just that people wanted to go experience the brand. Like that's how strong of a connection they built. And that's incredible. Like, kudos to all of them for understanding how brand building works, because they've done an amazing job. And I think these will be, like generational businesses.
Yeah. And something else I kind of wanted to touch on is that in each of these products or businesses, when they launched, they kind of had like one hero product that they were just known for. They didn't have to
Yeah.
come out the gate. I mean, relatively, like Rihanna came out with like 52 foundation shades. That
Yeah.
just never been done before.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that like the foundation itself was just so inclusive. And so they become kind of known for this one thing and they build out from there. But I
Yeah.
think oftentimes entrepreneurs think that they need to launch with like seven different products and they have to try to market each one separately and try to become like known for something. So I would love your perspective on, doing like a multi-product launch versus just trying to launch with just like one thing, be known for, doing that one thing well and then building out from there.
Again, I think you have to know your product and the business well enough to decide that for yourself. But Harley was on stage at NRF recently with the CEO of Athletic Greens, and there was like an iconic line that he said on stage, which is like, "It's a $1 billion business with one SKU." Athletic Greens sells one thing, and it is a multi-billion-dollar business, and they actually haven't strayed from that one thing. And so like it really is true that if you do one thing very, very well, that can in fact be a big enough business just all on its own. And so I think you're right. You're absolutely right. Like there are core products that you're launching with, you got to get those right before you think of a multi-product strategy. And I think we see that over and over again, which is do one thing really, really well, and things will grow from there.
Yeah.
Siegelman Stable is another brand that I love. The founder, Max, is amazing. Before all of these hat brands came out, they were a hat brand and they made the best hats out there. They were hand stitched. They, went through so many rounds of quality control with their supply chain on the hats. And he's an amazing marketer. He was able to get these hats into the hands of Hailey Bieber and Kylie Jenner. And, it grew from there, became like the it hat. It still is everywhere in New York. But now he has built a luxury brand and he sells very high-end clothes. But from day one, he wasn't trying to sell cheap hats. He was selling very quality hats. And so the rest of the luxury lines that he's now come out with is like people trust that that brand is going to uphold that standard no matter what. And it really all started just from selling that one thing and doing it really, really well.
Yeah. Okay, so as we are closing out, I'm going to ask you, I just have just one more question for
Yeah,
you. Okay.
please.
What excites you the most about the future of marketing, and how can small businesses prepare to thrive in an increasingly connected world?
Great question. Um, okay, what excites me most? I think there's a bunch of trends that are happening right now that I think are very exciting, that Shopify is a part of, but really like that any brand can tap into. I think social and video commerce is really increasingly going to dominate, whether we're talking about TikTok shop or Instagram shopping, YouTube shorts, whatnot. I mean, the rise of social commerce is undeniable. And I think people have really found like they enjoy shopping this way. And I think that will continue to rise. And so, again, encourage people to just lean into this trend, test it out, see what works, but really thinking about like commerce as part of your content. Um, content for content's sake should always be made, but I think there's also really now natural ways to be able to embed commerce into that content. And like, don't be afraid of that. You want to sell stuff. That is the most important thing. And there's really great opportunities to do that now. I think AI impersonalization, like, yes, AI is the trigger word for many people, but honestly, like, it makes life so much easier. Use it. Use it to build better creative, use it to build better websites, use it to build, more variations of your content that can reach different audiences. Shouldn't replace the human creativity and storytelling piece of it, but AI is just going to make everything, you know, much simpler, especially as an entrepreneur, which I assume small teams, such a huge trend. I think this rise of like creator-led commerce, you don't have to be a creator, to be a brand, but partner with creators. They are out there, they have the distribution. This is what they do. They do it well. Their fans listen. Find a creator that loves your product as much as you do and utilize the distribution and the authenticity that they've already built with their audiences. We have a program that probably has 500 creators in it, and they all authentically use Shopify. Some of them have millions of followers, some of them have 10,000, but they really are authentic fans. And we utilize them to tell our story better than we can. Um, I think really just the end of this like marketing funnel, or whatever it is, like touch points are everywhere. Marketing is everywhere. It's not linear. Um, People can hear about you on TikTok. Reddit is a massive platform. Like, go check out what your brand is doing there, what people are saying about it. I think there's just so many opportunities to connect with your consumers or potential consumers that I really wouldn't think about anything as like linear. I even think all of these new opportunities on streaming television, there's just so many places, and it's not the big budgets that were needed in the past to like get into an audience. I mean, it's just the opportunities are endless. And I really think finding where your audience lives and breathes and then being there is the most important thing.
Oh my gosh, I could have like 10 more questions for you, like another hour of discussion, but we will cut it there. But
Yeah,
thank
we'll
you.
do a part two.
Yeah, no, have a part two, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
Thanks for
insight.
having me. This was so much fun. Truly. This was such a blessing. You're amazing. I appreciate you having me on. And definitely let's find a time for part two.